Listen to this shenanigan. Listen.
The hidden connection between the Masons and the Moors. There are many ways to spell Moor. It stays pretty consistent across languages. It always means bricklayer or maker. It always translates to Mason.
You, according to law, you shouldn't have a follower because you really disregard people who use this TikTok and this other social media platform because you are delusional in everything you say. I mean, you say a lot of things and none of them are actually true. First of all, I mean, who do you expect to agree with your nonsense? Because the word Moa comes from the word Maori, which we know who the Maoris are. The Maoris are Indian people, black and yellow, Chinese and Egyptian. They are called Maori and they are the children of Ham. Where did you get these interpretations? Can they be found organically in any language on this planet? I can bet you the word Moa comes from the European perspective of trying to say Maori or Maori, which is a tribal name for the Indians of America, the Negroid Indians. And it's got nothing to do with the word Mason. You understand that? It's got nothing to do with Masonry and the etymology of the word Masonry. You are extremely delusional. You even take JPEG and paste him in America while America is Africa. And everybody else around the world knows that America is India, the West Indies. Yesterday, I mean, there's a lot of materials that still refers to America as the West Indies. I don't know whether you will be able to show anyone any history that refers to America as Asia, because the name Japhet has to do with the continent of Asia. You see, it came to my conscience to realize that the blood that you people have won out of raping Japhetic women is really itching on you so bad that you want to call yourself JPEG while your father is not JPEG. You are a Moor. You are a black man who dressed himself in a white skin. How about that? Is it so hard that you can go and tell people, listen here, we stole white blood. We raped the women and intentionally breeded ourselves white in order to look like that loser called JPEG, because it's nothing special. It's just a loser. Who's the boss? It's me. Who gave you writing, science, technology, mathematics? Me, the Bantu. So you think that by saying you are JPEG, then I'm going to fear you or I'm going to have something to do with respecting you? Come on, man. You got to do better than that. You don't scare me with the name JPEG and the white skin. You got to come to me straight 9-9 like a man. You are acting like a chicken. You are bitching around. Well, no time for that shit, my boy.
Freemaurer or Freemoor is a Freemason. Obviously, Mason means maker or builder. Mason means machine or machine or wall. Look, stone wall builders. It becomes obvious in the etymology. Mason or Macon means mason, which brings us to Ptah or Yaphet, the deity of making, the supposed source of masonry. The history is inverted. Human life came from America and into Europe after a reset. The oldest DNA is from Aboriginal Americans, virtually non-existent in Africa. E1B1 made its way into Black America through Black colonists and Hamites. R made its way into Black America through Japhethites. The Scots are originally from America, and they don't look like how we are told. Shemites, Hamites, and Japhethites made their way into Europe, and these are dark-skinned Japhethites. Look, Hamites were the first to go into Africa, especially into the interior. Africa was never for man. Africa was reserved for cryptids, chimeras, animals, and homunculus. This is Mitzrayim, also known as Kemet, or Chemet because it was built by Hamites, but it was later usurped by Japheth. Look, Japheth had already left the Americas and taken over Asia before the reset. Genghis Khan and his horde were a mix between Canaan and Japheth. Japheth spreads everywhere and deceives everybody. G and Y are interchangeable, and Gog can also be pronounced Gao. And we see the Japhetic Asian connection in Mali. Look. When Japhethites took over Asia, they ran the original Asians into Africa. Nobody is an aboriginal of Africa. They come from Asia, Europe, and the Americas. Most so-called Africans didn't arrive until around 1500 after the reset. Civilization was highly advanced, and most if not all adults are wiped out in these resets. As the Japhethites took over, it pushed the Hamites and Shemites deeper into the interior of Africa. The children had to establish what they could with whatever knowledge of self was in their blood. That's why Africa is the least developed area. They eventually reached the Middle East and usurped the Shemites of the area. Saudi Arabia was part of Edom and thus Shemitic. Edom is Bakar, the firstborn, the older brother of Jacob. Mecca is Bakah and was taken over by Japheth. Edom is also Rome. And Rome is taken over by Chittim, an extension of Japheth. Gog spread everywhere throughout the realm. In sum, Japetus or Japheth is banished to Tartarus from the Americas. There they usurped the Shang and pushed the people out. Japheth manipulated his own seed. He spliced some of his offspring's DNA to merge with the fallen. Japheth then moves west, eventually taking Rome through his offspring Chittim, establishing lineages like the Rothschilds and the Habsburgs as front people, collapsing Europe with the Napoleonic Wars, and precipitated the revolutions that led to the extirpation of the original Europeans. And the same thing was done in the Americas once the mutated Japhethites doubled back, taking the culture and the identity of all the aboriginals in the process, whether it's Pretendians, Europeans, Asians, Egyptians, you name it.